How's it going, everyone? This is Adam from Slurve, Ship My Money on DraftKings, and I'll be breaking down the pitching slate for you for today, Tuesday, the 14th. Today's a pretty weird slate because there's some pretty good pitchers going, but they're either in tough matchups or the pricing kind of makes playing them difficult. So it was a little bit of a struggle, especially for cash, to figure out pitchers that I liked, especially on DraftKings. But for DraftKings cash, Bumgarner is really, really expensive at $13,800, but I do think he has the best, combination of ceiling and floor today, despite the price. So he's someone I'm definitely going to try and get into my cash lineups. The issue is going to be, there's a game at Coors Field, and he's almost $14,000. So where can I go at my second starting pitcher to be able to still get bats that I want, and not just have to play, nothing but value bats? So while there are guys that are in that $9,000 to $10,000 range that I think are interesting, I'm thinking that for cash I'm going to have to pay down into the $7,000 range and kind of just make the best of what's there, so that I can pair them with Bumgarner and just hope that they give me around 15 DraftKings points. And my favorite play down there, as ugly as it is Tom Kohler going up against the Padres. He definitely has issues with his walks, but his last two games have been better. He's only walked one guy, and the Padres only walk 6% of the time against right-handed pitching this season. So, at least it's not a matchup where it's a team that's expected to draw a lot of walks just in general. And as everyone knows, the Padres have been terrible against right-handed pitching this season. They have a 24% strikeout rate, 75 WRC plus. I do, expect them. I don't think they're as bad now as they were at the beginning of the season, but on this slate where anyone with any kind of safety is just priced highly, I think that he's a pretty safe bet to get you 14 or 15 DraftKings points at the end of the day, and you can just move on and have some decent bats in your lineup. If you don't want to go there, Chris Tillman's got a terrible matchup, but he's underpriced at $7,400, and I think that even with the bad matchup, he's a good enough pitcher. There's a realistic shot that, like, a high percentage of the time, he's going to give you something like 5 or 6 innings with like 3 earned runs and a handful of strikeouts that at that 7.4K salary will pay that off, similar to the way that we're hoping Kohler puts up 14 or 15 points. Tillman's definitely got a higher ceiling than Kohler, but I think in this matchup he also has a lower floor, so that's why I prefer Kohler by a little bit. Jordan Zimmerman's kind of the same, in a similar spot. Like, he's at 7.9K. He gets even less strikeouts than Kohler does, which is saying a lot. And he's got a slightly worse matchup. The White Sox have an 85 WRC plus with a 20% strikeout rate on the season, but they've also been hot lately, and the game is in Chicago. So, out of those three options, I think that Kohler's probably my favorite. Julius Chacin's another one who at 7,000 I could see putting up 14 to 15 DraftKings points. But he's another guy who I think his ceiling is fairly high in his matchup with Minnesota, but his floor is just so low. He's been really inconsistent this season, so I don't really want to go there. So, as gross as it is, I think Kohler is probably my second starting pitcher on DraftKings. For FanDuel, it's a lot easier. There are two guys that I think are in play for cash, and one is Madison Bumgarner at 11,800 or 11,900. He's just the best. Like I said, the best combination of floor and ceiling today, and that's a very reasonable price for him at under $12,000. On the flip side is Jameson Taillon at $4,600. He's actually not even listed as a probable pitcher on FanDuel, although he is getting the start today for the Pirates, going up against a watered-down Mets lineup. And the $4,600, you figure Bumgarner's probably going to give you around 5 points per dollar, and Taillon can give you, more than that. I wouldn't be interested if I'm only expecting 25 FanDuel points out of him, but he's definitely talented enough to give you more than that. And at 4,600, you can get any of the bats that you want. So I think if you're not playing Bumgarner, your only other option is Taillon. And I prefer Bumgarner. I haven't figured out what kind of roster construction I can build around him. But assuming I can get decent bats, which normally you can on FanDuel because their pricing usually isn't as difficult as DraftKings is, then I do prefer Bumgarner in cash, but Taillon definitely is in play at 4,600 in my opinion. For GPPs on DraftKings, it opens up a little bit more. I'm probably not going to play Bumgarner in GPPs. I do expect him, there's a realistic chance he has the most raw points, but that price is just so high that I think it really caps your upside if you spend that much on Bumgarner. So looking down the board a little bit, I like Pomeranz at 10,400. He's someone that I expect to be very under-owned today, but Miami does strike out 22% of the time against left-handed pitching. He struggles a lot with walks, which really hurts on DraftKings. So he's not my favorite play, but I do think that he'll be under-owned, and there's a chance he has a really nice game. David Price at 9,700, going up against the Orioles, who have been worse against left-handed pitching this season. They only have an 85 WRC+. They strike out about 22% of the time, and they've had some good games in the past against Price, but his at 9,700 on this slate, I still think that's too low for him given his ceiling in this matchup. Brandon Finnegan at 8,100 is appealing to me against the Braves. They've struggled with lefties all season. Finnegan's got a lot of talent. He's just a young guy who's still kind of rough around the edges, but the Braves have struggled a lot this year, so he's in play for me, especially on the road in Atlanta, getting out of Bank of America Park. Jake Odorizzi at 8,200 might be my favorite tournament play today. Going up against a Mariners team that hits righties really well, but he's at home where throughout his career he's been much better, and he's a reverse splits guy, and the Mariners are running 7 left-handed bats out there today. So he's someone that I have a lot of interest in right now, and will definitely be doing a lot more research on before lock. Tillman at 7,400, kind of like I was saying in the cash game, or talking about him in cash. He's just been really good this year, and his price is down. So just from a price standpoint, I'm interested in him in GPPs because he does have upside at that price. And Kenta Maeda is someone who I've been off of for a while, but I'm actually on tonight, depending on the lineup the Diamondbacks use. He's priced at 9,900 on DraftKings, which is definitely going to turn people off of him. The game's in Chase Field, but against righties this season, he only has a 25% hard contact rate, 1.74 ground ball to fly ball ratio, and a 2.74 xFIP. If the Diamondbacks come out with a lot of righties tonight, I think he's definitely in play because the Diamondbacks have struck out 23% of the time against right-handed pitching this season. He struck out 23% of batters, and he's got an 11.7% swinging strike rate. All those things line up really well if the Diamondbacks, don't have Herman in the lineup and go, with 6 or 7 righties. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. For FanDuel GPPs, it's a lot less spread out for me just because the pricing is closer together with Bumgarner. Bumgarner's definitely in play for me at 11.9, and Taillon's in play at 4.6. And then the only other 2 guys that I really have interest in on top of that are Finnegan at 6.1 and Maeda at 8.5 for, the reasons I already said. And then my old interest in Julius Chassin at 6,000 I think is also in play. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Stop in the Slurf chat throughout the day and get my thoughts as I dig a little bit deeper into some of these guys. And good luck tonight, guys.